Magical Cemetery Sexton. Most days were calm, but there were times when things got a little spooky. The most tangible ghostly experience I had happened after we buried a man named Eddie, who had been known in town as a petty thief. His burial spot wasn't far from my office, and almost immediately after his graveside service, strange incidents started occurring. For example, the morning after Eddie's burial, I arrived at work and noticed the gate to the enclosure where we parked the backhoe and dump truck was swung open. This was unusual because I always made sure the gate was locked as I departed each evening. I possibly left the gate open on accident the first time, but after the same thing happened the next 2 days, I strongly suspected Eddie was still picking locks and causing mischief despite being dead. When I left for work after the third incident, I tucked a piece of plastic around the lock in a certain way so I could tell if someone touched it. I even drove back to check the lock that night after dark, and it was still fastened securely with the plastic in place. However, when I checked the gate early the next morning, it had been pushed open a few inches. The lock was undone, even though the plastic looked untouched. I wasn't amused by this ghostly prankster. The biggest surprise came moments later when I checked the shed next to my office. The shed had a padlock that required a key I kept on my keychain. But not only was the shed unlocked, but the padlock itself was hooked on a peg above the door. By this point, I wasn't scared. I was irritated. I figured Eddie was nearby, probably pleased I had noticed his handiwork. So I turned around and said, "Hey Eddie, listen to me. I'm impressed with your skills, but you're going to get me in trouble. What if someone sees the open gate and steals the backhoe? I'd get fired." I paused for a few seconds, then added, "Eddie, you don't belong here. There's a better place for you. Look around, go toward the light, and don't come back." He must have listened, because any problems with the lock stopped that very day. The Springville Evergreen Cemetery has a good, positive vibe, but there were a couple of areas where negative feelings were very strong. One section caused me anxiety, although there was no logical reason for it. I sensed I was treading on someone's territory, and they were bothered I was there. I'd never shared these feelings with anyone, though, until our cemetery secretary brought me a burial order. She pointed out the location, then said, "I hate that part of the cemetery."